What is up, all of my friends in this universe of power? This is your host, Gabriel Peña, El Voz. Some of you know me as a Texas Titan. I am here in Lumberton, Texas, practically in Louisiana. I've traveled all this way to come and train and hang out with my brother in strength, the one, the only, Trey Mitchell.
Thank you for having me, Gabe. Looking forward to it. I'm glad that you came out and trained with me. We got as much as you could in.
As much as we could. I mean, we've got the ever-looming pressure of 2022 World's Strongest Man right around the corner. I mean, how many weeks out are we now?
About 8 weeks, give or take.
8 weeks, give or take. We are well under the 2-month range before we depart to Sacramento to duke it out with 30 this year. 30 of the world's best strength athletes coming together to find out who is the world's strongest.
Yeah. Past 3 years, it was only 25. They upped it to 30 to get the world's best that they could.
Now, do you know if that means that we're going to have 6 heats of 5 athletes or 5 heats of 6, or do you not know?
I have not been told yet.
Nor have I. I'm curious.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if it's just one extra heat that we're going to do this year.
I don't know, what they do in the past when they had 30 athletes.
You know, that was just too far before my time to where I didn't pay enough attention to it.
Yeah.
But we're here at Trey's house in Lumberton. You might hear some birds chirping around in the distance. You might hear the dog barking. I mean, it is beautiful out here. It's a wonderful East Texas evening. It feels great. It's good to be out here with my buddy. And, I mean, Trey and I have known each other for the better part of a decade now, almost. We're closing in on a decade. I think the first time we met was in 2013 or 2014.
I want to say
2014.
At the
right?
Houston, Metroflex Houston police military fire competition in January.
That's right, the police fire and military games. I remember that fondly. I was still coming back from a biceps injury. I had just gotten my biceps reattached the previous year. But it was a nice way to get back to it. And I specifically remember we had a fire truck pull in that competition.
Yeah.
And I felt real confident about my abilities. And then you came onto the field. And you were the one athlete who just destroyed that entire event.
I don't know if I destroyed it, but I did the best in that event. That parking lot is probably the worst parking lot ever for a truck pull. We had divots, holes, and mounds of dirt. They did not pour that parking lot right the first time. And once you get the fire truck going, it will hit a divot or something, and it will just immediately, all the momentum would lose.
Regardless of how impractical that parking lot was, I would say that 95% of us athletes only got it maybe like half the course, and you took it pretty close to finishing it if you did not finish it.
Yeah, I think I just a couple of feet shy when the time ran out, I want to say.
Yeah, but I mean, my first impressions were like, who is this big corn-fed white boy who just came out of nowhere and just destroyed us all? I mean...
Well, you're the one that came out of nowhere for me. This first time I met you, and you destroyed we had 2 deadlift events in that competition, and you destroyed both of them. Well,
I felt real good about my deadlift abilities, but, you opened my eyes to what a new caliber of strength athlete was to be. And, that was the start of it all. I mean, we're talking back in 2014. We're 3 months through 2022. This is year 8 for us, right?
Yeah.
Going on 9.
Together, this is my 10th year competing. I started in 2012 as a teen. Yeah, that was my first competition in 2012 was the Houston Metroflex police military fire. Yeah.
So 2012 was your first competition.
Yes, sir.
My first competition was in 2013, I believe in June of 2013. So both of us started competing right around the same time, but you got that year head start on me, and I'm going to claim on to that for all the victories you have over me. But, I mean, I say very fondly, you are like, as far as any other strongman goes, you're like a brother to me, because we've been going at this together for, like we've been talking about, for almost a decade now. And there's a lot of competitions throughout the early parts of our careers where it would always boil down to those last few events.
Yeah. Almost every single time we went the Platinum Pros and nationals, when we were going to get against each other, it came to the last 2-3 events, and just we're separated by 1 to half a point every time.
It was always one of those things where one competition Trey would win the stones, the next competition I would win the stones, at least for the beginning phases of our careers.
Yes.
And then you just became one of the best stone loaders in the entire planet, and I just watch you bask in the limelight now on stones. But I'm going to catch you, don't you worry.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting head-to-head again on stones.
I will never forget Southeast Strongest Man in Florida. Remember that competition in Jacksonville? There was a pro card on the line.
Yes.
We had the Stone of Steel for max reps as the last event of that contest.
Yeah.
And I got one more rep than you.
Yes.
But Davis Dilly got one more rep than me, and he won the contest.
And he was a 1 point ahead of you. I was half a point behind you.
He was a half a point ahead of me, and you were half a point behind me.
So I was at 1 point behind him. Yes.
Right.
You're right.
And that was a tough loss for me. That one really burned its way into my memory for the rest of my career. Like losing my pro card by half a point, and I mean it's tough, man.
Yeah.
How many? I take it you've had some pretty narrow losses in your years.
I try not to forget those.
Well, of course, right? But you have to remember them because those are the shortcomings were like, all right, I have some refinement that I need to do. Are there any that specifically ring a bell for you?
Well, talking about like coming close or whatever, my first Platinum Plus was a competition in Shreveport, Louisiana. I was going up against Stan Carding and Alan Conley. I got third place by 3 points. Going up, this is my second year competing, and just going up against other seasoned pros or seasoned amateurs at the time, and actually being able to hold my own, almost getting a pro card my second year of competing, but it just like, but.
So you finally got your pro card in 2017, correct?
Yes.
So you started competing in 2012.
Mm-hmm.
You got your pro card in 2017 when you won the North American National Championships, correct?
Yes, Strongman Corporation.
In Vegas that year.
Yes.
Right? Yeah, that was so you got your pro card 2 years before me, and you started competing 1 year before me. I mean, I guess that gives you a nice edge over me right there.
Mm-hmm.
But, we had a lot of you've always been my favorite rival because we were very evenly matched on a lot of things. And, of course, you were clearly better than me on some things.
Yeah.
I like to think that at least at some point in time I was clearly better than you on some things too. But we were very evenly matched for a good point. But I think back to 2017, and I had like a bit of a foggy period in my career.
You did.
2017 and 2018 was kind of like a funk for me.
Yeah, you had a hip, low back injury, if I remember.
I had a hip injury that was messing around with me a lot in the early part of 2017, especially at the Arnold.
Mm-hmm.
I had missed the finals by one placing because my hips were not allowing me to really use their full power. I still did well on that deadlift event. You remember that year we had, or were you weren't there that year?
I didn't go that year. What?
That's right.
Yeah, I just didn't, let's see, 2016... We did
26. We did that one together. Was that your first Arnold?
Yeah, the first Arnold was that, but the reason I didn't go to nationals to get to my Arnold, I'm trying to remember exactly, but 2016 we had the Jacksonville competition, and that was in August, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then in December I did the Pro-Am, the Kazmaier Pro-Am to do that. So that's why I didn't go 2016. That's why I didn't go to the 2016 Nationals, because I had those two competitions together in that year, trying to get my pro card that way.
Right.
And so I didn't go to 2017 Arnold that you did.
Right. But 2017 was definitely a start of a weird time in my career. But I like thinking of it, especially as you won Nationals that year. Because in the midst of the funk that I was in between 2017 and 2018, that was when I really got to watch your ascension. Like when the moment when Trey stopped being the athlete who was just barely missing the pro cards, and then you just hit a streak of wins. I mean, you got the North American National Championship. You got your pro card there.
Mm-hmm.
You went on to win America's Strongest Man. Was that was the next one, or?
Well, let's see.
You also had a Giants Live or OSG?
OSG was the next one after that, which is, I don't know if you count that as a pro competition.
I do.
Okay.
It's a world championship in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a coming together of athletes from all around the world, and I remember right after Nationals you won that.
Mm-hmm. That was in December of that year.
And then the next one, that was America's Strongest?
No, going from after OSG, like I did a Pro-Am competition with the USS that had a invite to Arnold Australia that year. So I did that in 2018. 2018 March of 2018, I did the Arnold Australia. You know, got a fifth in that one out of 11 guys, going up against world strongest man competitors and people just coming off the Arnold. Like, that's going in there, like, no one gave me the time of day or whatever. Like, it's like, okay, just a new guy.
Yeah,
but after the first event was the squat event, we had 704 reps, and the first, like, the weird apparatus, like the stand and submit guys they made, like, if you hit it kind of at a weird angle, like it wasn't a smooth barrel like we have at World Strongest Man, so it was a little jacky.
But stand or submit, they make some pretty gnarly looking stuff. Every time I see their stuff, it reminds me of like Mad Max or
that's what the common thing is. Mad Max, the guy in the middle of the outback.
Very industrial looking.
Badass stuff. I agree.
I love it, but it was really cool to watch your ascension, and then of course when you won America's Strongest Man, I mean that's the national title.
Mm-hmm. Like, that was the next big win.
And you got your pro card. Win OSG, you win America's Strongest Man, you're making waves all across, and then before I knew it, you were at World's Strongest Man in 2019.
Yes.
You made it to the finals in 2019. Mm-hmm. You and Novikov going head-to-head on the stones.
A full 5.5 minutes of stone lifting.
How many total reps was that?
I did 14, he did 13.
And with what weight?
410 pounds.
That's insane.
410.
What do you remember as being like really torched on that, like in terms of muscles feeling fatigued or on fire?
For me, it was my quads. I'm mostly of a front squatter, stone lifter. Like I lap it and like cinch it onto my gut and front squat it up over the bar. So doing 14 reps with 410 pounds, that's killer.
I remember hearing the absurd amount of reps at first, and I was just like, I cannot imagine doing that, back to back. Was it hot in Florida that day?
Hot and humid in the middle of summer of Florida. Yeah, just like here in Texas.
Yeah, every time I go to Florida, I think of how it is here in coastal Texas. Mm-hmm. It feels the exact same level of ickiness. Mm. But I like remembering about this part of your career because you motivated me through some pretty dark times. I was doubting myself a lot. I was overcome with stress with managing my gym that I had just taken over ownership of, and it was nice to see someone that I connected with on such a close level as an athlete prove to me that it's capable, that he's able to do it. He's able to climb the ranks. And I don't know if you know how much it really pushed me to keep going and to find my way back on track.
Yeah. Thank you so much, but
thank you. I'm the one who's thanking you. It was very powerful to see a friend do that.
Well, I've done the same, an event that I need a little extra motivation for, and I've known you done it in the past and on a heavier, like really heavy. I've gone back, find the post and watch the video just to give me a little extra motivation to go hit it in the event day.
Well, that's kind of the great thing about this sport, though, is that we find so much shared motivation in watching each other perform. It definitely brings out the best in us, keeping our brothers close. Mm-hmm. Because, it's tough what we do, man. And it's very easy to kind of get off track a little bit and find yourself in a bit of a funk. And, we can talk about it a little bit more. In a lot of ways, I find myself in a funk throughout the year, but I've gotten better at it, at coping with it as life goes on. But we're talking about you getting to World's Strongest Man in 2019. Then you had World's Strongest Man 2020, 2021, and now we're on 2022. So you are on the precipice of your fourth World's Strongest Man appearance. And after 2020, I was there watching you.
Mm-hmm. You were there. That was your first year.
That was my first year, and I watched how you had just narrowly missed the finals.
Yeah.
After making the finals in 2019. Mm-hmm. Looking back on that, what was that like? I'm sure, I know how I am. If I make the finals one year, I feel like there's an incredible extra amount of pressure to make it the next year and do even better.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I put the pressure mostly on myself. Like, I'm the one putting the pressure on myself mostly. Yeah. I feel like it was a really low point, I would say, in my career. I was not happy with training leading up to it, and not really happy with the outcome on the events.
Well, I mean, fast forward to 2021 last year, you got fourth.
Yeah.
And you clawed your way back to the finals, and you almost so close to podium. So obviously you went back to the drawing board and you fixed those shortcomings you felt you had. But in terms of your training in 2020, what did you, like looking back on it, what was the missing link?
See, that don't really think that far back. So
Well,
I have to think right now. Maybe
because your stones were on point. Because I remember after Tom won the stones, you went and you loaded the last stone. That who wasn't able to put it up?
Oh, it was Novikov, the winner of World's Strongest Man 2020, and Jerry Pritchett. So,
right, their last heat, neither of them got that final stone.
No.
And you went up there, shirtless, no warm up. I think I helped you do like some curls with my arm resistance.
The crazy guy, one of the crazy dudes on the film crew, is like, he just came up to, I was standing next to you and a couple of other dudes, just like watching everybody go, and like Novikov and Jerry just went. He comes up and he's like, "You should go load those stones." He's like, "No," and he kept on. And he's like, "Yeah, I'll do that." And like, you saw that I was gonna do it, so you helped warm up my biceps, and then I
think Bobby at one time even came and told you, like, "Trey, don't do it. There's no paycheck in this."
Yeah.
And I'm like, I saw that look in your eyes, and I know how badly you wanted to be in the finals. I'm like, Bobby, there's no telling him he can't do this. He's going to do it. Like, the best thing we can do right now is support him and make sure he's warmed up and ready to go.
Yeah, he did, like, try and like, go talk to Brian and Nick Best, ask them what to do, I should do. And so, like, as I'm putting on tacky, and he's like, I go and ask, like, "Hey, what do you think about me loading those stones?" They just looked at me stupid. It's like, "You stupid," but I was already putting the tacky on, and like, okay. Warmed up was the first stone, just I did 2 or 3 loads, and then I acted like I was gonna actually go, like, doing an actual full run, and I just loaded the 460 on the ends, and just boom, boom. And
You made it look so easy.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I know the warm-up that we gave you was literally just pushing down on your arms as you were trying to curl them up.
Yeah.
But that speaks a lot about your stone lifting ability to go practically cold into the 460 and load it. I mean, you did both of them, right?
Yes, sir.
Both Jerry's and Novikov's. So 2 reps with 460.
Yeah, one right after the other. I did the Novikov's first, ran over to the other side, lifted that, and I hopped on the podium.
I was going to bring that up. You box jumped not to the second or third podium. You box jumped all the way to the first one, and all I could think of in my mind was like, man, I hope he does not miscalculate this jump. But I have never seen you fail a box jump. For a big-ass dude, you always move quite well on jumps.
I think if I've only failed 2 box jumps, and you learn quick not to do that again when you hit your shins on a wooden box.
you were definitely riding some hype after that, but that was a cool moment. And
most people think the box jump was more impressive than the stone loading.
I mean, for how easy you load stones, I would agree with them. How much do you weigh right now?
Right now, 460, give or take.
360?
No, 360.
Oh, like, holy hell, man.
No, I'm not. No,
I started feeling myself get pulled towards your gravitational field.
A little black hole opens up.
Yeah, well, to see that much mass in motion and to jump up to a higher platform, I mean, it's crazy to witness. But, that the shortcomings that had you fall a bit shy of the finals in 2020, last year, I mean, I remember I was there. I was an alternate. I didn't get to compete, but when I was told I wasn't going to be competing, it was like, all right, well, let me make the most of my presence here. And I wanted to be there to support, everyone there, all my friends there, but especially you, because you just kept moving up and up. And before we knew it, we were in the final event, the stones were going on, and you were in contention for the podium. And I just remember, like, being in the back room with you as you were getting ready.
Yeah, you were there, back there, helping me get ready, prepared, make sure I had everything, just like a coach that I would hire,
It just felt so, like, I don't know, like the stakes were so high. Like, I was like, my boy Trey, he could win this, or like he could just, I don't know. It was incredible to witness, man.
The finals, it came down really close. Like, I was a point and a half behind Maxime Boudreau. And got third. He got third. I got fourth by 1.5 points.
Yeah, so it was you, then Max, then Brian, then Tom. But I mean, What a nail biter, man. I mean, I was so excited for you, and you did so well.
Yeah.
But with a 4th place finish last year, where are Trey's sights set on this year for 2022?
Well, it's like going into every competition. My always sights are always on the first place.
Of course.
You know?
I knew you were going to say that. I just had to pry it out of you. So you hear that? Trey's coming for first place.
Yes,
Watch
sir.
out, Tom. After Worlds last year, you continued an impressive streak of contests. I mean, immediately after Worlds, what was your next contest? Was it the Shaw, or you had another one before that?
Yeah, it was the Shaw Classic. I was gonna do. No, it was gonna be after, but yeah, the Shaw Classic was the competition after that, and I got first place in that.
Yeah, I mean that was. So, it is regarded by a lot of us who are there competing as one of, if not the heaviest competition that there has ever been.
I would say so. It's one of the heaviest. We got 8
events.
8 events, all super heavy. 2 max events. Like
at altitude, and some of those events were well over a minute long. I mean, I think we had some 75-second. Did we have a 90-second event?
Was it 90? The longest event would have been the
death medley, right?
Yeah, the death medley, the sandbag into whale barrel into the arm over arm pull. Yeah.
I have some PTSD on that one. I with my knee injuries that year, my hips were doing all the work on the sandbags, and I was in a heat where it was me versus Brian.
Yeah.
And so there was that like, oh my God, I'm going against Brian. And halfway down the course with the first bag, my hips were carrying so much load that they just shut down on me, and I collapsed on the floor. I had all the medics like around me, like thinking I was going into a seizure or something. I'm like, no, my muscles just gave out. But I'm there on the floor, like trying to come to my senses. I'm like, Gabe, you just passed out going up against Brian. Like, how could you embarrass yourself like this? But
like, not in front of Brian.
That medley was tough, man. And I remember coming to my senses, getting right back on my feet and going for that next sandbag. I got it done, that. But it was that one and the I didn't get to do the circus dumbbell because my knees were already done at that point. But those were 2 of the longest timed events. And I'm thinking sustaining that level of activity at altitude, that is no easy feat. We were at just almost 8,000 feet. A
little over 8,000 feet up in Estes Park, Colorado.
And, you know, we're Texas boys. I mean, we're here. The sea is right over there. We're at sea level right now, pretty much.
Yeah.
You were just telling me how when Hurricane Harvey came through here, we were training at your gym earlier.
Yeah.
And you showed me the water line from when it flooded, and it was literally 8 feet above the ground, and we were already on a raised foundation.
Yes, it was. Yeah, that's how high. That's how bad it rained in Harvey back in 2017.
Yeah,
we got over 47 inches in 3 days.
That's nuts, man. But I mean, to be at zero elevation, pretty much, and to go up to 8,000 feet and to win, I mean that was a monumental victory in your career, I feel.
Yeah, thank you so much. But probably what helped is like you taking me up to the peak of the Continental Divide, and you and me huffing air, like what little air there is trying to get to the peak of that.
Oh,
that's lovely.
It's a true podcast outside when you hear all the souped up trucks zooming by.
That's Texas for you.
That's Texas for you. But yeah, we I spent a lot of time in the mountains. I love being up there, but I know, especially as a bigger guy, and a bigger guy coming from sea level, you can't just go up there and expect your lungs to perform well at altitude. You got to acclimate. So one of my favorite things when I go to the mountains is to kind of go up to a real high elevation, essentially shock the system and be like, hey, we got to be able to do well with this limited air. And then come back down to a little bit lower elevation, but it seems even more innocent having already been up there. So we were competing at 8,000 feet. It was me, my wife Bianca, you and your parents. We all got in my Chevy Colorado, and we drove into Rocky Mountain National Park, up Trail Ridge Road to the top of the Continental Divide, and we were walking around at 12,000 feet elevation.
Well, like Bianca and my parents, they stayed over there down at the
parking lot in the visitor center, right?
The visitor, and you and me tried to climb the stairs. How high do you think those stairs went?
Maybe like another 500 vertical feet, but I mean, it was a quarter mile of walking.
Yes.
And I've been up there before, and it's always, I'm usually the biggest guy up there, and that means I can always hear myself breathing. It was very refreshing to have an even bigger guy up there with me and to be breathing just as heavy. I felt like I had a kindred spirit, and it was a little bit like, okay, you're not an oddball anymore. Like, you got someone breathing heavy with you.
Well, you can hear on the on the mics that I'm breathing heavy. I don't think I'm breathing heavy because I'm out of shape. Okay, I think it's just because my little allergies. Okay, so
Whatever you gotta tell yourself, dude. See, the way I like to think of it is you got so much pectoral muscle that you just have to breathe hard to lift it up off the ribs.
Yeah, exactly.
So whatever you gotta say, you big strapping man. But so you had the Shaw, and then after you won the Shaw Classic, you went on to the Arnold.
Yes,
the Arnold UK.
I was going to join you for the Glasgow Giants Live, but I caught COVID after the Shaw Classic.
I remember because it was a quick turnover, like 2 weeks from the Shaw Classic to Glasgow.
Yes, it was really quick turnover, and it was like a week after, I think, that I just started feeling bad, and it's like, okay, I'll get tested before I'm supposed to get tested, just to give the promoters a heads up, and I got tested positive, and it's like, hey, I'm sorry, I really wanted to do the competition, go to Glasgow, but I caught COVID, and it's like, no worries. Can you still do will you be able to do the Arnold
UK?
Arnold UK? And it's like, yeah, I'll be recovered by then.
And you not only did the Arnold UK, you did very well.
I say I did very well, like in most of the events, especially first time doing the Hercules hold, and I got third, I want to say, over a minute on the Hercules hold, which is great for me. Being grip is one of my weaker events, but I feel like the Hercules hold did was easier on the shoulders and the biceps than farmer's walks and frame carries.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But to finish that with a podium, to finish 2021 with a podium, I mean, I feel like that's some pretty good momentum riding into the next year.
Yeah, I think so. Like, yeah. We can talk about my next competition after that was the Arnold Classic in Ohio.
I mean, that's what I was going to get to next.
Yeah.
I mean, what historically has been the heaviest competition in existence prior to the Shaw Classic, the Arnold Classic. And I mean, you think of our ultimate goals in this sport, it's like World's Strongest Man, the Arnold Classic, the two biggest competitions. And this was your first year, 2022, your first year at the Arnold Classic.
Yes, sir.
Tell us about that, man. I mean, I'm itching to know because that's one of my goals too. I mean, what was it like? How does that compare to World's Strongest Man?
It was more of a competition than a TV show. Totally honest to everybody listening, World's Strongest Man is more of a TV show than competition. Like the Arnold Classic, it is like until Shaw's competition came along, you probably weren't ever treated more like a pro athlete until the Arnold Classic. The Arnold Classic, we were, hey, you're here, you're the star of the show, you're going to be treated well. And like we were treated well. They took us, everywhere, like from the hotel to the convention hall. Like we didn't have to deal with any bugging fans, that stop us before we could go. We need to focus on the competition. Sorry, I'm sorry that I have to say this, but we have to go. You know. They took us, treated us like pro athletes, like football players, basketball players. We were the star. I feel like it's a telltale sign of a competition, a renowned competition that's been going on for years. I mean, it's been going on since before 2000, correct? I want to say the first year, like I needed was 2000. I want to say 2000, 2001.
So I mean, just ballpark. The Arnold's been going on for about 20 years.
Yes.
And I mean, with 20 years of catering to the world's best, you kind of learn how to do things the right way that keeps the athlete's performance paramount above everything else. So I mean, that's cool to hear that you had such a great experience there. In terms of the weight of these events, you had a max squat.
The first year that they had it there, so it was a new event.
You're a good squatter. You've always been a great squatter. How was that event for you?
It went well. I got a PR technically. Like I don't count it since we were using a new bar, the double T bar, which is a bowed bar, like a buffalo bar, bar, whichever you want to use. And I've never touched one of those. I've always used a straight bar. That's all I've ever had. So that was a new experience, trying to learn how to squat in that. Like Only thing, like the warm-ups for that for me just didn't go well. I wanted to open up at 8:20, 8:26, and warm-ups didn't go well. So like before I put in my numbers, I changed it to 775, which opened lighter than I wanted to, and just because I opened lighter, like I didn't get to go as heavy as I wanted. I did my last attempt at 8:56, and like it flew up easier than the previous two attempts at 775 and 8:26, and it was like I could have done more, know. Like I left some weight on the table, like I could have.
But I feel like
higher.
That level of, I guess, being apprehensive is normal for your first go around at a new stage.
Pretty much, yes.
I can think of similar feelings that I had to the Shaw Classic last year on the Hummer tire deadlift. I had never done that apparatus before, so I was very reserved in making sure that I was doing every attempt on the way up. When in hindsight, I knew that before we added that fourth tire, it was the fourth tire came out like 1050, somewhere around there.
Yes, it was 1050.
So I think it was the 1000 or the 1010 that they still had 3 tires and then some plates. I remember doing that lift. Felt a lot harder than when they added the fourth tire, just because it had less whip.
Yeah.
And so, when I go next time, I know I'm going to skip that because I felt like that drained some unnecessary energy and took away from my top end. And on your case, you feel like you had a lot more to give. You're just being a little bit reserved.
Yeah. I came out like injury free from the competition, but I was the same way for the 2020 Shaw Classic. That was the first time. A lot of us that were competing at that first inaugural Shaw Classic did the Hummer tire deadlift, and like a lot of us including me, took all the attempts. Like going into the rules meeting, like I asked, like when I was planning on doing taking a skip to the fourth tire where they added the 1050. It was 1050. But I had I was dealing with a little bit of a hamstring injury, like right behind the knee.
Yeah.
And so it was hurting in the warm-ups, but getting out on the field, didn't feel the pain. So I was just
It's always one of those safe rather than sorry sort of things.
Yeah, you're right.
Because things can go 0 to 60 very quick in this sport.
Yes.
But a couple of other things I want to ask you in regards to the Arnold, just because it's like, it's one of the holy grails, one of the big goals. Yeah. How was the Austrian oak, the log?
It was beautiful.
You got to lift it, right?
Yeah, I got to lift it.
How did it handle?
It was actually like, you'd think it would be unwieldy, but it was actually perfectly balanced. Like at the Shaw Classic at the World Strongest Men, when we did the max log, I clean it and it'd be a little bit wobbly, at the top on my chest, and I have to take a quick second to make sure it's balanced before I press. On the Austrian oak, as soon as I cleaned it, it was in the right spot right there, and I didn't have to.
Did you feel like those oversized ends to it kind of helped keep it a little bit more level, or made it sit on the chest better? Because when I see it, I'm like, this thing is just so freaking huge. It must feel like the most cumbersome object to just clean, roll up the body, and have sitting on the chest. I mean, but you make it seem like when you roll it up your chest, like the heavens open up and angels sang. I mean, yeah, that sort of vibe. It just seems like such a beautiful apparatus, man.
It's a beautiful log. It's well made. Steve made it
a masterpiece.
A masterpiece. That's his. What do you say? His masterpiece is coup d'etat.
Yep. That's so. And then that natural stone to shoulder. How did that thing feel? The thing I love about natural stones is it's always like figuring out a puzzle. Mm-hmm. You got to see the object. You got to figure out where the center of gravity is, where it's got its curves, where it's got its edges. Where do you pick this thing up from? Yeah. What was your strategy going into that event?
The strategy, I should have took a little bit extra longer time to actually get to maybe pick it before my attempt, because I picked it like you said, it's a puzzle, and if you put the pieces in wrong, it will not go the right way. It'll be a completely different puzzle that's not working.
Yeah.
If you pick it up the wrong way the first time, it doesn't want to go to your shoulder, and that's what happened to me. I picked it up on the wrong side, facing the judge or whatever. Should have turned it around before I attempted it, but picked it up and just you got it to on my chest pretty much, like right there before it gets to the shoulder, where you can, right before it gets to the apex, where you can balance it on your shoulder, and like it just didn't want to go up. It just didn't want to do it, no matter how. It was on my chest for a good 30 seconds. You think? Yeah.
Did it leave a little sour spot in your heart for next time?
Yeah,
you definitely want another go around.
Yeah, next year when we have it is going to be a lot better. It's going
to, as all trials are. The second time you do them, you're more well equipped, but
better, more experience.
Yeah, the squat, the Austrian oak, and then the stone. Those were three things where I'm like, how do these massive apparatuses feel? And we don't have to go into too much detail, but as a fellow athlete, a fellow world's strongest man athlete, a fellow pro competitor, my heart sank when I saw JF get injured. Do you think, based off of what you saw and knowing the man, that this is the end of JF's career?
He's even said it himself that it's probably the end.
It's one thing for an athlete to say it himself, in the midst of injury, but we both have competed with him multiple times. Do you see it being as easy as him saying so to hang up the towel?
He's always been positive dude, like talking to me. He's he was the first guy that really talked to me at my first pro show, the Arnold Australia. He came up to me and was like, when you go into World's Strongest Man, and was like, you should be there this year, and how well you performed, and just looking up to, growing up watching him, the last, before I started, going to the pro leagues and actually watching him at World's Strongest Man and the Arnold, just having him say that was the highlight, just so motivating, having him saying that I could be World's Strongest Man competitor was just so amazing.
I had some similar experiences with JF. Even at World's Strongest Man last year, in the midst of me being an alternate, not a competitor, he would say very positive and uplifting things and comment on my strength. And of course, then again at the Shaw Classic. I mean, I always saw JF as the epitome of a pro athlete.
Yes.
He went from contest to contest. And even though he may not have gotten first place at every contest, or he always was able to compete highly.
Yes.
Always able to take advantage of every situation and to collect a good paycheck from winnings.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, he was the pro athlete. He struck me as almost a predator in a sense of he's going to go out and get what he wants, and he's going to do it well and get ready for the next one.
Yeah.
So it hurts to see that. I mean, for me to say it hurts. I mean, he's the one hurting, right? But it's tough to see a brother in pain and brought to a point where he's contemplating hanging up the towel.
Yeah.
But I hope he doesn't. But when
obviously no one hopes he does.
Yeah. But when you've got such grave injuries, it's
everybody, Big Z. He's all his world records and titles came after he dislocated, he tore both his patella tendons and everything. So that's what we're trying to kept on reminding him and everybody talking, you can come back from this if you want to.
If there's anyone who can come back from it, it's JF.
I believe so.
He's an absolute machine of a man, and he's motivated me in so many ways. So I hope he comes back from it, because it was tragic to watch. But on to World's Strongest Man this year. It's where is your mind at right now? Where is Trey's mind at in less than 2 months out of Sacramento?
Just trying to get everything right, trying to come back to events that I haven't trained in half a year or so, just doing the Arnold Classic and other competitions, trying to get back to the level I believe I should be at competing. Yeah.
We got some pretty good event training in while I was here. I mean, I feel a bit run down from the travels to get here. 7 hours of a stretch is no easy feat.
Yeah.
But
when I went down to Bearstone, visit you, same drive. It was bad.
It's 7 hours in other states, you can cross 3 or 4 state lines. In Texas, that only gives you halfway across the state.
Exactly.
But everyone's always like, Gabe, you and Trey live in the same state. Why don't you guys train more often? And in all the years I've known you, this is the first time I've actually gotten to come up here to train with you, and it's because of the 7 hours that separates us, man.
Yeah.
It's not easy, and but we got some good event training in.
Yeah.
You know, we got to do some farmers and grip work. We got to do some power stairs work. We got to do some truck pull practice.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all events that when it comes time to get down to it on contest day, those are going to be some events that really separate the points.
Yes.
Because you know, looking at the power stairs, I mean, even in past World's Strongest Man contests, we were just watching a video last night when we were training them of Brian and Half Thor going at it.
What was it? 2016.
I think so. But
it was in Los Angeles, I believe.
Yeah, three 495-pound pins, up 5 stairs each, so 15 total steps.
It's 15 reps.
Yeah, and I'm just like the level of endurance to do that, and coordination to hop up and to hop back down.
Yeah.
Like that's you got to hop all the way back down the stairs.
A big dude's going down some big stairs.
Half Thor almost ate it like 3 different times on that clip that we watched last night. But good event training it, and I know I have been so excited to come up here and train with you. When I was leaving Edinburgh to come up here to the Beaumont area, I was just like, man, I'm going to be up there for the weekend. I want to train with Trey as many days as I can. So I left in the late morning on Friday, and I'm like, let's get right to training. Mm-hmm. And I can't do that anymore.
No.
You know, and back in my day when I was younger, I used to be able to do it, but now it's like
these young whippersnappers.
I know, man. The road took its toll last night, and was not able to do nearly as much as I wanted to, but we still got some good training.
Yeah, I believe so.
And so you're training things that you haven't got to train in a lot. What about, because you're set on winning?
Yeah.
As we all are, right?
Everyone is. Always.
As we all are.
I've always, like, you know, since I started competing, like, I want to win the competition, you know.
So with your eyes set on first place, knowing that last year you got 4th place, and knowing what separated you in points between Maxime, Brian, and Luke, what does that mean for you this year in your prep? What specific things are you focusing on in terms of where you fell short last year to ensure you bridge the gap from 4th to 1st?
Last year, it was just like little small mistakes on everything. You even said after the stone run, it was on the final stone. Like I lapped it in the wrong spot and just dropped it and repicked it. That cost me like 2 or 3 seconds, and JF, he beat me by 2 and 3 seconds, and that cost me a good amount of points. That probably would have got me the podium finish.
So if we're talking about specifically the stones, have you been training your coordination on stones more and your ability to knock out reps with precision fast?
Yeah.
I have no doubt. I mean, when I got here just now, I noticed you had some fresh stone marks on your arms.
Yeah, you know, after you left to go to a birthday party for one of your friend's kids, you know, I was like, all right, after lunch I'll hit some extra work, you know.
Yeah, well, we got another training session in this morning.
Yes.
And it was an early training session in for me, which I usually train in the afternoon. I want to start training in the mornings more for the sake of being a dad and going about my day with a clear head. But I had the intention of doing truck pull with you, doing yoke, doing stones. Mm-hmm. But the reality is I'm struggling with fatherhood, and I did not get much sleep last night. Like, being a dad is tough, man. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's not as simple as just starting my day the way that I want or sleeping the way that I want. I've got a new little bundle of joy that I got to make sure she's tended to.
Mm-hmm. But it's another responsibility that, like, since this is your first child, congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. It's just a new thing that you have to get used to, and be able to adapt to it and be able to still reach your goals.
Absolutely. A new challenge, a new adventure, and I mean, everything that I do for me and I do for her. Mm-hmm. But I'm definitely adapting right now. I did not get any sleep last night, or did not really eat well at all after the long road trip. So training expectations were a little bit higher than reality, but we still got some good.
Yeah.
I got to work with your extra G knee today.
Yes.
I had never used one of those before, and that is a cool device.
Yes, this is really neat. I got that back in 2017 to train for the OSG competition that they had a truck pull, and I bought that since I train like all the time by myself. Like last year was the first time I actually got a semi training partner. Like you met him this morning. Like he has
Brett, right?
Yeah, Brett husband. Yeah, you know, Mr. Husband.
Mr. Husband, that's his last name?
That's his last name.
Shout out to Brett Husband. Took a nice picture today. Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
But
he's gonna, fangirl when he hears this.
they said my name.
Yes,
no,
I'm calling you out.
Great guy, getting ready for his first competition.
No, he did 2 novice competitions.
So his first open competition.
Yes. So
awesome.
Technically, yes, his first competition, since novice don't really count.
Yeah, well, I agree with you there to a certain extent too. I don't host novice competitions because I don't want to sugarcoat this sport.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I don't dislike the idea. It's just not the shoes that I want to fill.
Agreed.
I love supporting the novice divisions, especially with other promoters that put on shows. But in my shows, I don't sugarcoat it, and you've seen it. You've helped me out.
Mm-hmm.
You came to Beerstone.
Yeah, I showed up at Beerstone.
You surprised me out of nowhere. After you competed at the Arnold the week prior, you drove all the way down to South Texas and just popped out of nowhere and
tried to get some training in, but you were too busy, so I trained with the other pros that showed up.
You did. You and Travis got some training, and Brian got some training in while I was busy doing all the work. But that was a heavy show, and you helped me run the thing, and it was a lot of fun. But
I had a lot of fun, being down there with meeting everybody.
I'm surprised you didn't compete. I mean, well, I'm not surprised because you had the Arnold the week before, but we gave out $7,000 to first place, and Bobby won.
I was expecting you to actually try and talk me into it, but I think you were too focused on the competition.
Too focused on the competition, and of course, I knew that you had the Arnold.
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge, and I didn't want to throw you off from that at all. But do you think you could have beaten Bobby?
I think so. If I didn't work out the week prior.
Yeah. Is that was the first time that I've ever put on a contest where we gave out big amounts of prize money, and we gave out pro cards.
Yes.
We crowned 3 new pros at Beerstone. Austin Andrade in the males, he got second place from San Antonio, and then Gabby Dixon.
Yeah.
From the Pacific Northwest, either Washington or Oregon, I think.
She told me one day, but I think it was
she's from the West Coast.
Yes, Pacific Northwest.
Impressive athlete. She's so strong. But she became a fresh new pro, and then Julia Hamilton, Lady Beast Juju, also became a pro. So lots of prize money. We had an even split between the males and the females. Both first place victors got $7,000.
Yeah, nice.
And then pro cards. I mean, it was a monumental day in strongman history, but it was a big production, and
probably one of the best amateur competitions I've been to.
Thanks, man. It took a lot of work.
How many athletes did you have?
84.
84, and it only took how long?
Only took how long? We finished at 7:30 p.m.
Yeah, everybody started at 10 and finished at 7 with 84 athletes, which most people can't even finish in that long with half the athletes.
That being said, next year we're going to make it a 2-day competition just so that we're not there through all hours of the day. But it was so much fun, man. And I mean, getting that contest ready, I had such a great team at 5x5 Brewing Company that helped me out with that. But it's having baby Xiomara right before Beerstone, and then Beerstone, and now World's Strongest Man. It feels like life has not stopped. No. And it's tough, man. But in a lot of ways, we thrive off of the challenges that we face. So I know that as the weeks keep going by, as we get closer to World's Strongest Man, I'm only going to be stronger by all the hardships that have led me to that point. But I'm excited, man. It's this year I got the full invite. No more alternate nonsense, and I'm really looking forward to competing with you and all my other brothers in strength who are going to be there.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to having you there too. Like 2020, like you were, like me. 2020, I was an alternate at first, and then everybody just kept on had to cancel or whatever, like pull out, and just they were down to their last alternate, and you were one of them with me, and that was 2020. And 2021, they just didn't want to get you. They didn't want to pull you out of the alternate to compete.
I've got lots of stuff I could say on that, but I think the medical staff that they had that year took their jobs a little too seriously and a little too impractically. You know, I had all my health marks passed with flying colors, and they just did not want to let me in because of the heart issue that I had in World's Strongest Man 2020. But the silver lining to all that was I got to cheer you guys on. I got to help you.
Yes.
I know Bobby had some stuff he was dealing with that I got to help him out with. And then, of course, when you were just blasting through the finals and it came down to that last event, I mean, that was a very fond memory that I will forever cherish, and getting to watch you do that and help you out in whatever way that I could. I mean, it was truly special. And I look forward to being there with you again, but this time as a fellow competitor.
Side by side in the finals.
Yeah, man. But it's so great to come up here to train with you in your home, to, of course, record this podcast in your backyard, listening to all the crickets chirp and everything.
I'm your first guest, right?
You're my first. Well, Bianca was technically my first guest with the pilot episode, but she doesn't count because she's my wife. So you're my first guest.
Okay.
And you are my first remote location podcast also.
Oh, a lot of firsts for this.
a lot of firsts, man. I mean, most of the other podcasts from here on out will be from the comfort of my studio, but it's pretty cool getting to sit out here and record in the middle of your backyard here in East Texas. But with the first podcast I did, and with this one, I put out a post on Instagram asking the fans if they had any questions or anything that they wanted me to talk to you about.
All right.
And so I'm going to pull those out now. I got some pretty interesting ones. Some of these questions are pretty straightforward too.
All right.
This first one, Adam Pliger asks, brisket or tri-tip?
Moist brisket.
Moist brisket, so not trimmed. You want the good, fatty, juicy stuff. When you eat your brisket, do you eat it just straight brisket, or do you make sandwiches out of it? What's your preferred mode of eating brisket?
I'll do all of it, but I'll do most.
What's your preferred mode of brisket?
Yeah,
all of it.
All of it.
That's
but I'll go
answer.
straight brisket most of the time.
Straight. Do you have a favorite barbecue sauce? When you go to HEB, what barbecue sauce do you get?
Baby Ray's.
Sweet Baby Ray's?
Yeah, Sweet Baby
The
Ray's.
original or a different flavor?
Original.
Nice, man. Yeah. That's a solid one. Listen to that train in the background. I wonder how this audio is going to come out with all that ambient noise.
Yeah, let's cut for a little while.
Well, we can just listen to that train. I can edit it out.
Yeah.
Well, the sounds of Texas. East Texas, in Lumberton.
Crickets chirping, train in the background.
That train is probably coming fresh from the coast, carrying a load off a boat, off to wherever else they're going to take it. But, yeah, I'm sure I can edit that out or filter it out somehow. But
yeah, if you want to.
So, Alex Dunning wants to know, why didn't you wear a suit in the Arnolds?
It's too hard to use when you train by yourself, you have to train in it to be able to actually utilize it properly. And when you train by yourself, it takes a lot of time to get it in. Like, I bought one to train for the World's Strongest Man 2021.
What suit did you get?
Inzer Extreme.
Okay.
It's a single ply. I wore it once trying to train for World's Strongest Man 2021. Took me a good 30 to 45 minutes of heaving, sweating like a greased pig, and trying to get in it by myself. So yeah, if you have a training partner, to be able to, you try and use a suit every once in a while. But
I remember in Worlds 2020, I had never done Worlds before. I had never used a suit before, but they had told us we could wear a suit. And so I had ordered a suit to start practicing on it, but the first time I put the suit on, I was already deadlifting well into the 900s raw. The first time I put the suit on, I couldn't even deadlift 700 because it was so constricting and so uncomfortable. A lot of people think that you just put a suit on and you're instantly better.
Yeah.
It takes practice. I think it took me a good 5 or 6 sessions to where I started feeling even just a tiny bit comfortable with it.
Yeah.
But even when it came down to Worlds in 2020, I took my suit with me, just in case. But, for our deadlift for reps event, I was like, no, I know I can breathe well. I know I can move well without a suit. It's only 760.
Yeah.
Like, let me just do as much as I can with it. I'm sure you're thinking the same thing too. Like,
yeah, that's what I believe. Like after the Arnold UK, Novikov came up to me after the deadlift event and asked me why no suit? And he was like, I can breathe better and it's easier.
Yeah. Yeah, and
he only beat me by a rep on the deadlift event.
But see, if it's a rep event, I feel like the suits can easily work against you.
Yes.
They can constrict your breathing, and it's just going to make your job hard. But Yeah, I mean, a good question, especially for people who haven't done.
They're just starting out. Yeah, amateur,
Right.
you know.
George Lucito, Heavy Timber from Houston, wants to know barbecue or tacos?
Tacos.
Ooh.
Tacos.
I was expecting you to pick barbecue.
No,
But
like
I'm with you on that one. I'll pick tacos too.
like
What kind of tacos? What, or at least what kind of protein?
always carne asada.
Carne asada and fajita?
Yes.
My man, that's what I'm talking about.
Always.
All right, let's see. Yannick Grachin, goals for 2022. Give me your top 3.
Make the podium at World's Strongest Man. Win World Shaw Classic again. And probably win a Giants Live competition if, you know. Like I've already made the podium there. Got to win. Got to get first place in one of them.
Win, win, win. That's what Trey wants. Those 3 goals.
All I do is win, win, win.
He actually had a second question. What is your favorite Mexican beverage? Do you have one?
No, we don't get that much up in East Texas.
I can answer this one. For me, it's the Jarritos pineapple soda from Mexico. And it was funny because when I went to the Deadlift World Championships, my first Giants Live in Manchester in the UK, I had ordered Uber Eats, and the place that I had ordered a burrito from had these Mexican sodas there, and I felt even 5,000 miles away, I felt like I was at home. But
isn't that cool? Like you're somewhere in the middle of nowhere, or not nowhere, but like so far from home, and you find something that
I know it just makes it's that little sweet, tender piece of home that makes you feel all toasty inside. Let's see. Semiel Beast asks, so he's going with Big Tex. I'm guessing that in response to your nickname. I don't think you're going with Big Tex. I know people call you Big Tex, but I've never heard you gravitate towards that.
No one's ever given me a solid nickname that is like, okay, this is my nickname. Not like you at the 2020 Arnold, where Paul Mauser's just like gave you the Texas Titan.
That
just
stuck,
the
man.
Texas Titan all weekend long.
Dude, when I heard Paul Mauser drop that on the mic, I was like, yes, that is a great nickname. I'm going to roll with it. And it sticks, man.
Yeah, it actually fits you. But
I mean, you've got your Instagram, Berserker Lifter.
Yes.
So you got that. I jokingly around called you the Apex at Worlds last year. I don't think you really liked that because I said it refers to your power belly. But you were also telling me that you had a...
Yeah, Jen Todd.
At the Arnold gave you a nickname.
Yeah, Jen Todd, she like... what'd she say? We were the last day or whatever, we were sitting down for breakfast, and she just said something like, here in East Texas, we have the Big Thicket preserve, the natural preserve, and she just looked at me, like, gave me the the finger snap, and she's like, I think we found your nickname. And it was like, yeah, that really that kind of sticks.
Big Thicket.
The Big Thicket.
Trey Big Thicket Mitchell.
What do y'all guys think? You can't really give yourself a nickname.
No, you can't.
Yeah.
The crowd has to regurgitate it, or the MCs, but Big Thicket is a possible nickname. I don't know about Big Tex. I think it's too overdone.
Yeah.
No, that's not Trey.
I did that for the question in there, air for the World's Strongest Man back at last year. It's like, what's your they give you all those questions, and like,
Dude,
you get
the questionnaire that they had us fill out this year. Did it get longer than last year?
I felt like it got shorter than.
I feel like it got longer. Like I knew we had a deadline to turn that thing in, and I dedicated a whole afternoon to it. I thought it was going to finish in like 1 hour. Before I knew it, it took me 4 hours to finish the damn thing.
I felt like the 2019 was the longest one. Like
that was before my time.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry. But 2019, like, I was there for like 3 hours. Like this year, like, boom, boom, boom. But most of them I just kind of like.
You're just there, yes, no, yes, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
They're short answers, Trey. It's supposed to be a paragraph. Matt Barba, one of my training partners from Brownsville, wants to know, will you ever shave the beard?
No, I trim it a little bit every once in a while, but no, don't need to shave.
Chris Close from North Texas. How do you stay focused on your goal with so many distractions in the world?
You just gotta, Chris, hi, how you been? Yeah. You just block it all out. You don't worry about it. You got social media. You actually choose what you can follow. That is where you get all the distractions. You can also, get rid of all the distractions, just focus on what you want to, your friends, your training partners, and the people that, give you tips and motivation, just keep those.
How have you, I assume, because myself, I've only gotten better at dealing with all the mental stuff that the sport encompasses. You talk about shutting it out. I don't take it like you've always been able to shut it out as well as you do now. Did you develop any strategies along the way for you specifically that kind of helps you drown out the noise and just focus on what's ahead? Like whether it's meditating at night or writing stuff out on a board or just turning off anything, any little strategies that work for Trey?
No, like it's really just, like don't give it any attention as all, like the haters, like you don't give them any attention. They just want attention. So you just like, either you just don't give them anything or you just block them.
So is it safe to say that Trey likes having all the power?
Yeah, I say.
Pretty safe to say.
I mean, it's
big thicket does as big thicket does.
It's your social media. Do what you want with it.
There you go. Walker Text 37, the hat. Did he know it would become iconic?
Yeah,
You knew it would become iconic when you started wearing it, or
what was it like? I would wear it like my hat was a gift for my 18th birthday from my dad. Turned 18. He gave me went to the Western store. I like this hat, and like, okay, that's your birthday gift. And like, after a couple of competitions, like, I didn't wear it, but he's like, you probably need a gimmick. It's just like, yeah, I'll bring my cowboy hat. And
everyone knows you as the guy with the hat. I was just, at my friend's daughter's birthday party out in Conroe, 2 hours from here, that I was just at. I was telling him, I was like, oh, we're staying in Lumberton. I'm training with my buddy Trey Mitchell, and he's like, is that the guy with the hat? I'm like, yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, so it's become an icon.
Yes.
You and Travis are the two Texas strongmen that have the hats, except you're now the only one who lives in Texas still.
Yeah.
So you've got the true rights to the hat. Sorry, Travis. Move to the desert.
Yeah. Old Travis, Texas Stoneman doesn't live in Texas anymore.
No, but he can still rock that hat very well.
Yeah.
All right. So big sexy strongman. All right. How many days a week does Trey train?
6 days.
6 days a week?
Yes.
That's a lot.
Yeah, like some people say that, but I just.
What's your normal? If you go into those 6 days, what's the split?
Mondays deadlift, Tuesdays log press, Wednesdays squats, Thursday is second pressing day. It's been last 2 years or whatever. It's been another shoulder press day, but in the past it was just like a bench press or incline press day with like other accessories and whatnot, and Friday and Saturday are event days.
Gotcha. So with that many days that you're training, and I was talking to you yesterday too. We were talking about comparing how long we spend training. I think you were talking on average you between 2 to 3 hours.
2.5 to 3 hours, like, yeah.
2.5 to 3 hours, 6 times a week. How do you prioritize and maximize your ability to recover?
Free time is recovery.
Okay.
Like before you go to bed, do some recovery stuff, stretching, foam rolling, or.
So do you make sure that every day you do some type of recovery?
Yes.
Okay. That's the key.
If I have free time before work after my training, I do recovery stuff in the gym.
So that's the key to 6 times a week. It's proper recovery.
Yeah, I didn't start out like that, like I started out, 3 days a week with like in the gym and whatever I could do in the yard, like training for my first competition. I didn't know what I was doing. Just, got to do backward sled drags, do that a bunch of times until my legs are blown up with the blood, with the, the pump.
Yeah.
And, do that, do whatever. And that started out, 3 days a week with a bunch of random stuff during the, in between. Then moved on to 4 days a week, maybe occasional 5. Like, I never had a coach. I'm self-taught for the most part. Like I get my information as much as I could, learning from articles and books and stuff. But I never had a coach, so this is just developed over time, my work capacity to be able to do 6 days a week of training.
You talk about how it's developed over time, And when I talk about you to other athletes and other people, who are involved in this sport, I say it as a compliment that ever since I've known you, every time that I've seen you progressively as time goes on, you have consistently grown. Like, and I mean that in like the muscle way. Like, you have gotten consistently bigger throughout every year that I've known you.
Yeah.
And I mean, you've definitely got that Johnny Bravo physique going on. Like, every time I think that your back can't get wider, it gets wider.
I have 30-inch thighs. Thank you very much. They're not small.
Okay, I was talking about the upper body, not the lower. You got very well developed legs, Trey. Your calves looked uber sexy today on those truck pulls.
Oh, thank you very much.
I mean, I had the view spotting you on the rope. I could see all the muscle fibers. All right, so log of V. I recall World's Strongest Man saying Trey's parents didn't want him in strongman. What changed them? Is that true?
Yeah, like they'll deny this if you ask them in person, but trying to convince them to let me compete, and they did not think I could, make a living out of this, become pro and whatnot. What happened? Like, I actually turned pro and
lo and behold, you're one of the strongest men that's ever walked this earth.
Yeah, and they were like saying, like, how are you going to get to go to all those competitions? Because as an amateur, you have to pay your own way to go to competitions, but now, like, the pros, when I became a pro and like after you became a pro, like they've actually started treating us like pro athletes, where they pay our own way and put us up in hotels and treat us like pros.
Yeah.
As an amateur, you're not used to that.
It's got to be cool for the parents to kind of see that
yeah.
change over the years, because ever since I've known you, I've known your parents. They've always been there cheering you on.
Yeah,
and
they've been to almost every competitions. Like, when I turned pro and like have to travel to different parts, different parts of the world, they've kind of, can't afford it. But I help them, pay for stuff, and they make as many as they can.
That's so awesome, man. I'm going to ask you something personal on that note, because I had, and whether you want to answer it or not is up to you. There was a point in my early days of strongman, my dad always didn't want me to compete. He thought it was just a fad. He was like, you're going to hurt yourself, you're going to try it for a little bit, you're going to get tired of it. And so it was always one of those things where he was like, oh, at some point he's going to get tired, he's not going to do it. And I just kept ascending the ranks. And it was always one of those things where, like, Dad is always going to be critical of me. Is he ever going to be proud of me? And I was always kind of like, whether I wanted to acknowledge it or not, I was like, is Dad ever going to tell me, like, Gabe, you're doing great, you're doing a good job? And it was in 2020, right at the start of the pandemic, after I had won my pro card at Nationals in 2019, I was training for the Arnold that year. And, Dad was pretty sick. He was succumbing to illness, and he passed away maybe about a month and a half after this memory. But I remember him telling me that he was proud of me, and I remember he had shared one of my deadlift videos on Facebook.
Yeah.
And he was pretty sick at the time, so I mean, sometimes maybe all of him wasn't there, because he shared that video like 5 times immediately right after the post. But it was that, like, knowing, like, damn, Dad's proud of me. Like, it feels really good. Has there been any moments where Mama and Papa Mitchell have told you, like, Trey, we're so proud of you and what you've done? Anything that you can remember?
Yeah, they do. They do. Yeah, cut that out. Yeah, but no, we'll fix that when we do it live. Yeah. Yeah, they tell me they're proud of me and everything. It took a while for me to actually feel like they are. Before I turned pro, that it seemed like they didn't actually believe I was good enough to be able to make a living at this. But now that I'm competing at a bigger level and everything, they always, like, we're proud of you, this and that. The first time, like, my dad, like, you've met my dad, and anybody that has, like, he's probably the driest person you can meet. When I won my invite to the World's Strongest Man the first time, he just came up to me, like, on the sidelines, and, like, gave me a fist bump, and he gave me a fist bump and was like, proud of you, or good job.
Those moments got to feel good, like they hit a little spot at home.
Yeah. Well, he always brags about me to, like, if we're eating down at restaurants, he'll brag about me to the waitress just randomly. Yeah, it's like Dad.
To the waitress specifically, like, is he trying to hook you up?
No, he's just
Is he being your wingman?
No, he's just trying to brag. He's
I'm just messing with you.
I know. But no, this happened after a competition or whatever. We usually eat at a Saltgrass whenever we fly back in Houston, and coming back home to Lumberton. We stopped at a Saltgrass, ate, and like I think this was after the 2019 Giants Live that won my invite to World's Strongest Man, and he told the waitress and was like, he's a pro strongman or whatever. He's going to World's Strongest Man, and he's like, oh yeah, that's cool and everything. Well, she went to the kitchen and looked me up on her phone and showed everybody. Turns out the manager of that restaurant was a fan of mine. She came up to me and was like, I didn't know Trey Mitchell was here, blah, blah, this is my, like, she follows me on social media, like, I follow you everywhere. She, can I get pictures? Like, yeah, totally. And, like, I didn't get a discount on my food, though.
What?
Yeah. It was like, couldn't get a discount.
Got all those pictures, but no discount. But, hey, that all came because Dad was proud of you.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. Those sentimental feels, right? They hit close to home.
Yes.
Okay, let's see. Who is bigger, you or any of your relatives? Do you have any relatives that are bigger than you?
No, I'm the biggest relative.
That was asked by Felipe Gonçalves.
No.
You're the biggest out of anyone in your family?
Yeah, like sometimes they.
Are there any other strength athletes in your family?
No, I'm the black sheep.
Gotcha.
I'm the only.
You're the diamond in the rough.
Yes,
Because diamonds are so strong and can cut through anything.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
Behemoth 211 wants to know, for both of you guys, what's your favorite deadlift lockout accessory? You go first.
Like I was telling you about this, was it today or yesterday? I was talking about the isometric pulls.
Today.
Today, yeah. Isometric pulls, you're pulling into a fixed object, the deadlift pins on a squat rack, or the safety pins. You're trying to max effort for 5 to 8 seconds, trying to push through a sticking point of your deadlift, and that felt like it helped my deadlift the most when I was finally turned pro in 2018. I was utilizing those a lot, and so
when you're doing it for your lockout specifically, where do you set that stop point on these isometric pulls?
Well, like that is more specifically dealing with sticking points, and my sticking point is like right below the knee.
Okay.
So once I get it, like once I work on those pulls and like get that sticking point in, like my deadlift, my deadlift lockout, skyrockets. It's a lot more explosive.
Gotcha. For me, for deadlift lockouts, I always think of how the deadlift is divided into two phases. You have the phase that's below the knee, where it's focusing on the push muscles. Mm-hmm. And then you have the phase that's above the knee, the hip extension.
Yeah.
My favorite accessory for working the lockout is the raised deadlifts.
Yeah.
Anytime that deadlift gets closer and closer to the knee, whether it's 15 inches, 18 inches, or even excessively above, like 20 inches, if you hit it right at that point where the hips engage, where you miss that, where you lose all the push muscles that work below the knee, you're directly enhancing your lockout. So I would say my favorite deadlift accessory for lockouts would be 18-inch axle deadlift.
Yeah.
An axle specifically, because that bar doesn't bend. You get that direct output right off the bat. You're not getting the false lift of pulling through the flex of a bar.
Yeah.
So axle deadlifts from a raised height for me, isometric lockouts for Trey. All right. I've got two questions that are similar. One is from Daniel Moreno. He competed at Beerstone. He's from Brownsville.
Okay.
What is your go-to Whataburger order? And this coincides with Mike Gonzalez out of California, who says, in all caps, will you finally admit In-N-Out is better than Whataburger?
In-N-Out is garbage, Mike.
In-N-Out is garbage, Mike. I had Whataburger last night. Thank you very much.
Yeah. If I wanted a salad, I go to a steakhouse. That's In-N-Out is a salad with a little bit of meat on a bun.
Yeah. Whataburger beats In-N-Out, Mike. I'm sorry. But Daniel Moreno wants to know, what is your go-to Whataburger order?
I would say the sweet and spicy burger was an extra patty. So three
patties.
Three patties on a sweet and spicy bacon burger. It has bacon, onions, and sweet and spicy sauce.
Do you get the meal or just the burger?
No, I get the meal. Yeah.
I'm just asking, man. I don't know if you get like double burger. Sometimes I won't get the meal so that I don't eat the fries and I can order a whole nother burger.
Sometimes I will do that, but for the most part, it is.
What about your drink? What drink do you get?
Sweet tea? Texas.
Oh, so Texas style. Good old country boy.
Yeah.
All right, and Daniel followed that question up with, what did you eat the most to put on size?
Put on size. Like it's.
Let's think back to early Trey. The Trey that I first met in 2014. What was Trey eating to grow progressively to this behemoth I see in front of me right now?
Let's see. Like, my diet, we could call it a diet, growing up was garbage. My mother didn't like to cook breakfast, so my breakfast was anything sweet. So actually going from garbage meals to actual meals helped a whole ton. So my breakfast is like whole eggs. I started out, in high school when I started competing in strongman, like 4 whole eggs. Then I went to 6 whole eggs. Now I'm like steady at 8 eggs, but I throw in a bunch of, ham, onions, and other stuff to help fill out.
What would you say is your protein to carb to fat ratio if you had to ballpark it just for your total days? Or you don't even?
I don't worry about that. Like, I'm hungry. Like, let's bump up the, the protein, like.
All right, well, I guess, are you more quick to bump up the protein or are you more quick to bump up the carbs?
More bump up the protein. Protein,
Gotcha.
Help to build the, the muscle.
Help to build and help to rebuild.
Yes, helps.
Especially when you're training 6 days a week, you got to have that protein.
Yeah, when we train, hard, you got to help rebuild is most of the time.
Have you ever measured out on average how much protein you get a day?
No, I'm sorry, I don't. Like that.
There's nothing to apologize for.
That's like I just got a coach recently, and he's like, yeah, we're gonna have to fix that nutrition of yours. He's like, yeah, I know.
No more eyeballing, and let's just figure out these numbers, right?
Yes.
Okay, let's see. How often? This is. Oh wow, Dan. I started reading one of Daniel's other questions. He has 3 questions.
We better not see any more of those, Daniel.
Yeah, no, this is the last one he has. How often have you experienced inflamed tendons through training? For me, all the damn time.
Yeah, I was about to say too many to count,
This sport is nothing but inflamed tendons. You just get better at cooling them down and mitigating them over time.
Yeah.
Okay, we're getting close to the end. What is, okay, Jamie868 wants to know, I know you're not a big drinker, but do you have a choice of beer?
No, I don't. Like, I don't.
Have you ever drank beer?
Yeah, like, the worst beer that you can think of is, like, I was at a friend's coming home party from the military basic training, and like his sister went to go pick up like a liquor. She went for a liquor run, and she brought not your father's root beer, which is an alcoholic root beer, the worst tasting drink you could ever think of.
Dude, I love root beer.
Well, root beer is really good, but
the not your father's root beer is different. Yeah, I know.
It's disgusting.
Yeah. But that's not even beer.
Yes, exactly.
It's an alcoholic soda.
Oh, okay, that's a good excuse.
So you were at Beerstone. We were at 5x5 Brewing Company. You didn't have a beer there?
No.
Oh, dude, they make some of the best beer in Texas.
Well, I had to leave before the after party.
Yeah, that's
I'm
right.
sorry, but like I'm more of I'd rather go eat some real good food.
So you'd rather have food over alcohol. But
yeah.
If Trey were to let loose on a very special occasion, what would be your go-to alcoholic beverage? Beer, liquor, whatever. Margaritas, whatever. Anything or?
Like after the Arnold Classic this year, went to go eat with a couple of buddies and I guess I could say name Ken. Ken McClellan. He just I'm gonna get you. I want to see you buzzed.
That's a very Ken thing to say.
Yeah, I want to see Trey Mitchell buzzed.
Ken's a fun guy to drink with.
Yeah, he's a good dude. Really fun to hang out. He was a laugh at at World Strongest Men every year. But he what do you want to drink? I'll get you something. I got this. It's some, I can't remember. It was some sort of lemonade or whatever. Give a sip of this, and it's all right. I'll get you a lemonade. And he got me, what was it called? Big Sky lemonade. It was alcoholic lemonade, and I was sipping on it as we were eating.
And this was in Australia?
No, not Australia. The Arnold Classic.
Okay, gotcha.
In Ohio.
So this was recently.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and he got me that, and I finished it. Sipping on it. As we were eating, and He's like, I showed it to him, and he's like, I'm so proud of you. And he's like, whatever, Ken.
And that was the only drink you had?
Yeah, that's the only drink I had there.
Did you feel any buzz since you don't ever drink?
No.
Or you're just too damn big, it didn't even faze you?
Yeah, I didn't feel it. Like,
Yeah.
I've been at competitions after parties, and they've tried to get me to drink whiskey, and I shot of, whiskey or whatever, and I feel the flush of the face, but, I don't only drink one or two. And
yeah, that's not enough to get a big boy like you.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Any sort of feels.
No.
Other than the immediate, like, oh my God, I just drank a whole bunch of toxin.
Yeah,
but
like, blah, blah, blah.
It's, I remember very early on in my, when I was training to get stronger and bigger, how, I think it was Phil Heath that said, you can't be a rock star on the weekends and a bodybuilder during the week.
Yeah.
And in regards to, you can't just be drinking all the time and expect your body to perform. And I've, on special occasions I'll drink, but especially like now leading up to Worlds, I don't drink.
Yeah.
Like the last beer that I had was at Beer Stone. That was just like the end of the competition. I just put on, and I'm at the brewery. I'm going to have a beer with the athletes.
Was it just one?
It was just one, but it was one of those big glasses right there. I made sure to make it count.
The big steins.
But the reality is that alcohol is a toxin. I mean, it's you can't drink in any type of excess and expect your body to perform the next day or the next day after that. Your body is recovering from flushing out that toxin.
Yes.
So it's one of those lines that the athletes have to walk very finely. Especially if you're going to demand any type of performance from your body, you got to do it smart.
Mm-hmm.
You got to do it smart. So
agreed.
I no ill feelings to you not being an established drinker at all, my friend. Okay. How did you get into strongman, and who got you into it? This is from Tucker Goodall, our second to last question.
Okay. What got me into strongman?
How did you get into strongman, and who got you into it?
Okay. I got into it myself. Like, I started from, I'm in the middle of nowhere, like Lumberton, Texas. There's no established gyms. Like, we got a couple of commercial gyms here and there, but nothing serious. So I was training at my local high school. I'm friends with the coaches, and you're like, okay, you can train here. So I could train heavy, deadlifts, power cleans, all that, the heavy stuff in strongman. Like, so I never had I never got a coach or whatever. I grew up watching it on TV. So, like, after high school football, it's like, well, I didn't want to get fat and lazy like everyone else does after high school sports.
You didn't want the freshman 15,
yeah.
Or at least not the fat 15. You wanted the muscle 15.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Nice.
So my first competition was January of my senior year of high school, and I just Googled strongman competition and found one in Houston, and I had like we talked on earlier, I had to convince my parents to let me do it. Yeah. And I won it, and I won the team division at that competition.
That's so cool, man.
And I was like, yeah, I want to
Do you remember watching World's Strongest Man as a kid?
Yeah. I watched World's Strongest Man and IFSA. There was a old, I think it was an NBC Sports Network, and they had IFSA on every once in a while, and I would catch it and watch IFSA and World's Strongest Man.
Any
too.
classic strongman competitors that really ignited the flames of your motivation early on, or?
Yeah, Derek Poundstone,
Yes.
he's, really good. And, Travis Ortmeyer, Texas boy. Yeah. And now he's come back to compete, and I get to compete with him every once in a while.
Yeah, man. It's Travis is a legend, and getting to spend time with him has been quite a surreal experience. And to see him back in top form, it's pretty damn cool.
I've always kind of been a little jealous of those stories that are, there some guys training in just some commercial gyms, just lifting heavy naturally, and some guy walks up to them, you're pretty strong. I do this thing called strongman. You want to come to my garage and lift heavy objects? And he's like, that's always, a little bit cooler story than, I Googled it.
Yeah, definitely. It's a very, very personal and really speaks to what ignited those flames.
Yeah, I never had Travis Ortmeyer, he trained in Houston for years, and he had training group. I've always trained by myself for, my whole career. Yeah. So I've always collected my equipment, over time. My, bought, my first farmer's handles were homemade from chain link chain link fence posts. You know, those galvanized posts. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Just me and my dad made those, and those were my first farm materials until I was starting to make some money from jobs.
Well, that's one of the things is as we get started on this sport, you realize how the specialty fabricated equipment costs a pretty penny.
Yes.
And as someone who's just starting, most people don't have the luxury of just dropping a bunch of cash on a new endeavor.
Yes.
It's like, let me try to make what I can out of these materials that I have. So it's a lot of improvising. And if you find something that's got even a remote amount of weight to it or a remote amount of rigidity to it, you can use it for the strongman.
Yeah. Well, like my first tire for tire flips, like it was like in the woods behind my house where I live. Like we had a logging company come and clear, and they left
How heavy was this tire?
This tire is like over 900 pounds.
I knew you were going to say something absurd like that. That's just a Trey response. I was like, most people, they say their first tire weighs like 250, 400, 500 tops. But I was like, Trey's going to say something stupid like above 800.
You know, a skidder tire, like a logging skidder, those tires, like they're over 900 pounds, I would say.
And that was your first tire?
That's my first tire.
You think that was the key that got you this far, was doing your first tire flips on a 900 pounder?
Like I could do like 1 or 2 reps at a day.
That's still that's insane for your first tire.
You know, my second competition was they had a tire flip medley, and one of the last tire was 900 pounds. So yeah, that probably helped me.
that's a hell of a Kickstarter in terms of learning to know what heavyweight is.
Yeah.
So this was the last question, but I'm gonna give my own last question after this because it's a pretty simple question, but. This is from El Nata LV or El Nat ALV. Anyways, he says, los tacos con salsa or sin salsa? So with or without salsa on your tacos? Because you like tacos more than barbecue.
It depends on the salsa.
Well, hot sauce or sauce in general. Do you like tacos with or without sauce?
Like just salsa? Yeah, like
What kind of sauce? Red, green?
Yeah, red, not verde.
Nice.
Verde's too spicy.
Nice. So that was all the question that I had from our fans on Instagram, the ones that I picked out. But my question to you, what is the hardest injury that you've ever had to overcome from, and how did you overcome it?
Like, I've had so many injuries, it's hard to, narrow it down.
I think of all my injuries, and the roughest one in terms of like needing surgery was a torn bicep in 2013. That was bad enough to where I had to be put back together. But the roughest one was my knee injuries of last year, because I carried that with me through every competition, and it was a pain in the ass to recover from. But what's the worst you've had to deal with?
It took me, I had a back injury back in maybe 2014 that put me out for serious competitions for a while.
How'd you recover it?
Just a chiropractor, getting ultrasounds and electric stim,
What was it that originally triggered this injury? 'Cause back injuries are terrifying in the sport. I know there's plenty of times where I've sprained my back over the years, and I'm like, oh, that's it. I herniated a disc. I'm done.
Yeah. Well, my first back injury was just walking this was in football before, not in football, but I was here at the house. I was walking, and I slipped in some mud, and I caught myself on like a little shelf or whatever, something. I caught myself on the arm, and that, just the force of me falling down but catching, pinched my 2 discs, my L5 and my L4 together on one side.
Those are the big lumbar discs, the ones that carry the most pressure with what we do.
So it was that I spent because of football, playing football, high school football, it kept on getting re-injured and over again because the coaches were retards, He's you're not hurt, go out there, He's but I could barely stand. It was hurting, but so I've had a lot of back injuries, pinched nerves, and I've pulled my spinal erector once, doing deadlifts, terrible form, going to failure. But that 2014 injury was at that the Houston Metroflex competition. We had the 2 deadlifts. The first event was a car deadlift for reps. The last event was the max deadlift, tire deadlift.
Like a 15-inch barbell, right?
Yeah, and they had it in.
Are you just saying? Are you making this elaborate excuse because I whipped your butt on those deadlifts?
No, because
I beat you on that last deadlift of the contest.
Yes, because you were a strongman at the time.
I like how you put "at the time." at the very end there. Well,
But no, that parking lot was terrible, and they thought it was a good idea to have a deadlift in that parking lot. You remember that?
I do remember it, but I mean, I deadlifted well, so I don't know what you're complaining about.
Whatever.
Brother, we went double over the time that I thought we were. It's just so easy to talk to you, but are there any last parting thoughts that you have to share with our listeners? I mean, here we are, two pro World's Strongest Man competitors getting ready for the biggest competition of the year.
Yeah.
Any insight you want to share on your prep or any advice you want to give to the listener at home? Just parting thoughts from Trey Mitchell. What do you have to say?
Like just advice for people getting into sport and like how far you want to go with it. Just believe in yourself. You know, like some people will push you, but no one's going to push you as hard as yourself. So believe, and if you believe you can do it, you can do it. Like make it to the World's Strongest Man one day, you will, as long as you keep on believing. And
that self-belief has gotten you very far, my friend. It has been incredible to watch it manifest itself in you and your success. And I know you've got everything that's transpired between when we met each other and now is only just the beginning still. And I'm so excited to see your continued growth. It's been a joy to be here. Even though training was not as hard as I had hoped it would be in terms of me being able to push myself, it's been awesome to train with you at your gym, to finally see it in person.
Yeah.
You know, where all the magic happens, and of course to just hang out with you, man. I love you, bro.
It was great having you, and you know, I'm glad that you were able to come out and train as much as you could. You know, you had your stressors from, you know, responsibility of taking care of your kids and the long travel, but like a little bit goes a long way sometimes.
It does, and I feel good about the work that we got to do, and I feel even better about knowing how my body reacted to all the different stimulus I've been giving it, because every time we do something, we're instantly better equipped for the next time we do it. And
always learning.
I will be back up here to train with you, and I'm sure you'll be back down there to train with me at some point too in the Rio Grande Valley. But
yeah,
brother, it's been an absolute pleasure, and thank you for doing this podcast with me. This is something that I'm going to be doing over the weeks to come, and it seems all too fitting to have Trey Mitchell as my first guest.
Yeah, thank you so much. Look forward to it. You know, I'm looking forward to your growth in your podcast. Hope it becomes, you know, as big as, you know, Shaw's.
And then some, right?
Yeah.
No, but it's fun, and I enjoy doing it. I enjoy bringing the experience to all the listeners at home. But ladies and gentlemen, this has been Titan Talk, a podcast by myself, Gabe Pena. I've been fortunate to have my good buddy here, Trey Mitchell, with me for this second episode of Titan Talk, and I look forward to continuing to bring this to you every single week, at least for this first season, and maybe we might even get this going on at World's Strongest Man.
All right,
some of those lonely hotel nights in the days prior to the actual contest.
Like 2020, where, you know, we
set up the little camera in the corner of the room, right, on the tripod.
Someone commented it looked like casting couch.
You know, people love that, though.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't see why I can't pack all this stuff with me. Get some good.
Yeah, you know, you got your family coming with you. They can put a little bit in their luggage.
There we go. But, Trey, thanks again, brother. I look forward to everything that's yet to come, and Sacramento's closing in.
Yeah.
Let's get it done.
Let's go.
All right. This has been Titan Talk. Gabriel Pena and Trey Mitchell. Y'all enjoy. Be safe out there, and I'll see you next time.